What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at this brand new 2021 Subaru WRX STI. Huge shout out and thank you to Randy Marion Subaru for providing this STI for today's video. Check out the link to their website in the description below. They have a huge selection of the 2021 Subaru lineup, so definitely check them out. And the model that we're looking at today is the STI Limited with the rear wing, is finished off in ice silver metallic, and has an MSRP at $44,000. Underneath the hood of the STI, this utilizes a 2.5 liter boxer 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. This cranks out 310 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. The engine is paired to a 6-speed manual transmission and sends the power to all 4 wheels through the all-wheel drive system. And with a curb weight around 3,400 pounds, you can expect 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds and a top speed at 150 miles per hour. And then all running on a 15.9 gallon fuel tank. You're looking at 16 miles per gallon in the city with 22 out on the highway. The overall length is 180.9 inches with a wheelbase at 104.3, width is 70.7, with height at 58.1 inches. And then the STI also features a set of Brembo brakes in all 4 corners. We have ventilated and drilled rotors as well, measuring 13.4 inches up front with 12.8 in the back. And you can see we have 6 piston calipers up front, finished off in a lime green color, and 2 piston calipers in back. If we take a look at the exterior styling with the 2021 STI, this has a set of LED headlights with LED daytime running lights. They have a blacked out housings and some nice chrome trim. You can also see how the running lights make a C shape around the headlights just to give it an aggressive design. Sharp lines go off of the inside of the headlights facing towards the grille. You can see it's finished off in gloss black with the Subaru logo right in the center and the STI logo over on the right. We also have satin black trim in the lower portion of the front bumper to allow more cooling to the radiators. There's more of this trim in the farther sides of the front bumper to help add to the aggression, and you can see sharp body lines all around the front end. The bumper flows seamlessly to the hood, where you're going to notice a massive intake duct to allow cooling to the intercooler, which is mounted on top of the engine, and it has a nice body color trim piece around it. There's also sharp lines in the farther sides of the hood that flow seamlessly up to the A-pillars, and then that blends its way to these front fenders with bulges around these front tires. And then moving to the side profile, you can see these 19-inch wheels finished off in a 2-tone color with a multi-spoke design. They have STI in the center caps and have a really good contrast, especially against the lime green calipers. You can see that sharp line around the front fenders with the STI logo, and then there's also a functional cutout underneath that to allow pressurized air in the wheel well to escape. There's a sharp line going through the door panels above the door handles, and it goes all the way into the rear section. There's also another sharp line above the rear fender arch to match the front, really to give this that wider appearance, and we get some good body contours in the lower portion of the doors. This has body colored door handles and body colored mirror caps with an integrated LED turn signal, and then there's black trim around all of the windows and a sunroof up top. The proportions of the STI are very nice looking. You can see how everything flows together to give this a fantastic side profile. And especially taking a look at this massive rear wing on the trunk, it looks great from the side. And then as we move our way to the rear end, you can get another good look at the rear wing. It has a lot of presence to it and a lot of cool contours. We also get red taillights in the back with some chrome pieces in the center, and they even have that same C shape we saw up front for the DRL. The Subaru logo is in the center of the trunk with a trim piece below that, as well as the standard backup camera. And we have your Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive logo on the left with STI over on the right. There's some clean body lines in the rear bumper, as well as some molding in the lower portions to add to the aggression. And we get a massive satin black rear diffuser with sharp fins and your dual quad-tipped exhaust. So there's a good look at the exterior and some of the performance specifications for the 2021 STI. Comment below, what do you guys think of this car, and what do you think of the rear wing? That is actually an option. Some of the STIs don't have a wing. I think this one looks especially good, and I really like the silver color and the contrast with those calipers. We now have Subaru's key fob. If I go ahead and lock the car, I just tap on the upper button. The unlock is actually a Subaru logo. If I keep the key in my pocket, all I have to do is go up and grab the door handle. It'll automatically unlock, and we can check out this interior. We get a black interior with red accents all throughout. If we go ahead and take a look at the door panel now, it's finished off all in black. We get black micro suede with red stitching along the side and more of the same design for the armrest with some good padding. There's a grab handle right here. Then all of your window controls with automatic front windows, lock and unlock, and your mirror controls, as well as the release handle. We have a little bit of storage down here and then part of the Harman Kardon audio system. And then moving inside now, we have an aluminum door sill with STI. All the power seat controls are on this left side, finished off in black. These seats have a really nice look with all the smooth black and red leather as well as the contrast red stitching. We get the black micro suede in the center with more of the stitching, and you can see how the lower bolsters look. As you make your way up these seats, these back bolsters are massive. You get more of the stitching in the backs with the cool contrast colors, and then we get Recaro stitched up top with more red piping as well as STI embossed into the leather. The STI also gets a set of red seat belts, which has a really cool look. And then if we spin around to the steering wheel, it's finished off in black leather, perforated on the left and right side, red stitching, and a flat bottom design. And then now inside, keeping my foot on the clutch, we can go ahead and fire it up. Taking a look at the steering wheel now, we have a lot of your Bluetooth and audio controls over on this left side, as well as cruise control settings on the right. If we look at the gauge cluster now, we have an analog speedometer over on the right with your fuel level below that. We also have the tach on the left with engine temperature, and then an LCD display right in the center. You can control some of the things you see in there with the controls on this left side of the steering wheel. If I go ahead and toggle up and down now, you can see a few different menus pop up, like your speed, lap timer. You can go into this and hold the set button, and it'll go into an adjustable screen that you can change a lot of the settings within the car, and then I can easily go back out of all of this. On the left side of the steering wheel now, we have some controls for your trunk release as well as the interior dimming. We have the blind spot alert on off with traction control, then a little bit of trim and one of the air vents, and then black along the dashboard. Right in the center now, we have a nice piece of black leather with red stitching and an LCD screen with a lot of cool information. As you can see, we have a boost gauge right now with more information on the right side of that. If I use the toggle in the front of this dash right now by scrolling up and down, we can scroll through many different things that are performance related in this screen. As you see, as I continue to go down, you can see a lot of the MPG, things like that, some of the performance data, as well as more information back to the main screen. And then when you adjust any of the climate control settings by adjusting your fan speed or anything like that, it also comes up on the screen as well, which is a really cool touch. We have your hazard control and 2 air vents, and then the LCD touchscreen display for the infotainment. We have touch sensitive buttons on the left and the right side. If I go ahead and hit the home icon, you can see where we have your phone integration, your navigation map. You can swipe over to see different items that are in the car. If I go under apps right now, you can see a few different things that pop up: Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. We also have the navigation screen. Then if I take the shifter now and put us over into reverse, which is all the way to the right and down, you can see the standard backup camera that pops up with all the different guidelines. And then we can go ahead and put us back into neutral. We have all the climate control settings down below that with fan speed in the middle, dual zone climate control, the AC and recirc button, as well as the dual zone on and off. And then below all that, we have a little bit of storage and a 12 volt, some black trim with the STI logo, and then really nice black leather and red stitching around the shifter with more red accents. You can also see the red stitching going down the center console now. We have a manual parking brake, and then the controls over on this right side are very interesting. We have your drive modes right here. If you tap it down, that goes into the intelligent mode. Going over once to the left is sport, and then going over to the right is your sport sharp. And if we even look on the gauge cluster right now by tapping it in the center, this kind of indicates the power band of the car. In intelligent mode, this is the slowest driving mode, very conservative, gets a little bit more powerful, and then all the way up to sport sharp, the power is instant. And then beneath that, we have your differential control. You can tap this for automatic versus manual, and then you have your center diff. You can go up and down, and you can also see how on this center screen right now, if I control all these buttons, hitting the auto, you can go up and down for plus and minus and control the diff. And then if you tap the other icon, you can lock this center diff all the way up, which is great for inclement weather like you're in the snow, but I really like the differential control you get in the STI over the standard WRX. And then beneath all of that, if we open this, we have 2 cup holders right in here that nicely hide away your heated seats as well. And then this button right here you can press for a little bit better armrest. Then we can put that down and open it up for the center storage. We have 2 USBs and a pretty good amount of storage space in there. And then over on this right side, we can open up the glove box. You have a good amount of space as you would expect. It's a nice large bucket. And then going ahead and closing that up, taking one last look at the interior of the STI. I especially love all the red accents with all the stitching, the piping, and leather as well. And then I love all the micro suede, the red seat belts. Definitely a fantastic sporty look. Up top, you can see the manual sunshade for the sunroof, and then your dome lights and all the controls. And then to take a look at the rear seat space, I can go ahead and open up the door. The door panel is finished off just like we saw up front, and the rear seats even get all the same treatment with the 2-tone leather, the red seat belts, and then all the red stitching. We have storage behind the front seats. And then hopping into the back of the STI, I'm 5'11" sitting back here, and I even have the driver's seat set at my height. I have a few inches of knee room, and my feet are fitting nice and well. There's also about an inch of headroom, so it's actually a pretty usable sedan. We also have a good armrest in a great spot. And then if we take a look at the center now, we can pull the center armrest down with 2 cup holders in it. And then as you can see, we got quite a lot of glass back here for a lot of good visibility, and grab handles up top. And then to take a look at the trunk space, you can use the button on the key fob, the one in the interior, or there is one on this back. We can just press the button and open the trunk up. This has a lot of space in it. As you can see, it's very squared off. We have a cutout over on the left and right side for added interior space. And with the seats folded down now, you can see just how much more storage space we have in the back of an STI. These rear seats fold nearly flat with a lot of space up front. And you have a pretty large opening into the trunk to make this super practical. So we are setting off now in the 2021 WRX STI. So right now, I'm actually in the intelligent drive mode, just the basic, most conservative mode. And it gets up to speed super quickly. The turbo power is very fluid in it. And when you even look at those diagrams, you could tell that that intelligent mode, it was a very smooth power delivery for how the power is in the car. And that is exactly what I'm finding, getting up to 50 miles an hour. Just like that, it's a good smooth driving experience. Before we get on the more fun roads, as far as the basics in this car, I like how comfortable it is. With the armrest up now, they're in a really good place to where you can actually just sit back and enjoy cruising in the STI. You have a massive windshield for fantastic visibility, and then the glass up here gives you a really good view of what's going on in front of you. These A-pillars are very small as well, and all the mirrors do a great job, of course, with blind spot alert. And then looking through my rear view, you see that massive wing back there. It's actually at the top of the frame, so it doesn't hinder visibility, which is a really good touch. Looking over my left and right shoulder, you have a lot of glass in this car, so it's really good to look around. The overall comfort, these seats are really nice to be in. I like all the power controls. I can angle them pretty well, do what I need to do, move the steering wheel around. The bolsters, I wouldn't say are the most aggressive, especially for being a Recaro seat, but I think for bodies that are much larger than my own, you have a lot of space in here to where this car can fit a lot of different size people. Headroom, I have quite a few inches up there as well, and I do have the seat at the lowest setting. So that's nice that this car is pretty useful for a lot of different people. So then if we're gonna go right into, let's actually go to the sport mode real quick and then slowly make our way up to the sport sharp, taking a little bit of turn. We'll go into second gear. Wow. Instantly, it is much peppier in the power delivery. That is really nice. And then shifting it, this is a pretty notchy shifter. It's not a crazy short throw or anything, but quite honestly, it's super easy to point the gears. The clutch doesn't weigh anything. There's not that much feedback in it, but it makes it very forgiving. So this could be a car you can actually learn how to drive a manual on, and I think you do pretty well. I also love seeing the boost gauge right there and my throttle position, as well as my gear indicator right in the center. So it just gives you that good feedback when you are driving this in a performance setting. You can easily see some good things in the car. Rev matching a downshift, super easy to do, and I love the throttle response is so much sharper in this mode than we were finding in the intelligent drive mode. That is really cool. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put us into sport sharp. Wow, just in first gear right there, the power is instant. I've driven quite a few STIs over the years. I used to sell a lot of them when I worked at a car dealership, and sport sharp is where it's at. You give it a little bit of gas and the turbo just builds, and it's very peppy, especially when you start in a lower RPM in a lower gear. So anyway, before the fun roads, as we are cruising now in 6th gear, road noise and wind noise, you don't really hear any wind noise. There's a little bit of tire noise, but nothing out of the ordinary, but nice and comfortable when at speed. Taking a really sharp turn. Turning radius is fantastic, especially for an all-wheel drive car. I'm not gonna mess with any of the differential controls. I'm leaving that in automatic. That way the car kind of does what it needs to do with the all-wheel drive, setting the power to which wheel needs it, and just making it more comfortable. You're really not gonna wanna drive the car with the lock differential, because that's just gonna make it undrivable on pavement. But I really like with the center differential, you can kind of control it, how much power you want going which way. So that really makes this car be able to be dialed in to any performance setting. So with that said, we have a nice 90-degree turn. We're in 4th gear, hitting the brakes, coming into it. Really good, flat in the corners. Rev match to 3rd. Wow. Yeah, when you're in sport sharp, that's where there's some power, and I'm only half throttling it, and you can tell there's some meat in this engine. And I've driven a ton of these cars pretty hard. Obviously a brand new car, I'm not gonna do that, but these are very peppy cars. When you're on it and getting up to red line, this car really moves. And the handling For being a sedan, you just wouldn't expect it to be so flat in the turns. There's no body roll. It's extremely stable, and the steering, I've always been very impressed with the STI steering. It really lets you do what you want and provides you, I think, with pretty good feedback to let you know exactly what the car is doing. It's a pretty tossable vehicle. It doesn't have a crazy curved weight to where you can't just play with the car. And I like that with the all-wheel drive control, the steering, and of course the practicality. It's a pretty good blend of everything with this car to where you get the fun aspects. The modification potential is insane, and yet you can still use this as a daily driver. We'll do a little bit more on the brakes. Those Brembos do a fantastic job. Wow. I love that they've put these brakes in this car. It just looks really good. Letting the power build. It is a very linear power band. I like how, while being a smaller 4-cylinder engine like this, it doesn't feel like one where it's just instant torque and then it falls flat. The engine does carry its weight very well and just keeps building as you get higher in the revs. So I think that is a good touch for the power delivery. Harder on the brakes coming down a hill. We will tone us back into the I mode. So I think that is it then with the WRX STI. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Once again, huge shout out to Randy Marion Subaru for providing this STI for today's video. They have a huge selection of the 2021 Subaru lineup, so definitely check them out. But that is it for the video.